Good afternoon. My name is Lorraine Perez. I'm the Deputy Superintendent with Santa Ana Unified School District, and I'm very pleased to have our partner from the legal firm AALRR, Gabriel Sandoval, to share some insight with us around some things related to our immigration support for families.
Thank you, Dr. Perez. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our questions so that way we can start getting some information to our community. The first question that I have here are, what are the key legal protections that schools must provide to undocumented students and their families, and how should staff respond if a student's immigration status is questioned?
Sure. So there's federal and state law that protects all students, irrespective of immigration status, to attend a free public education K through 12. We have the Supreme Court case, Plyler v. Doe, which is the case that was decided in 1982 by the U.S. Supreme Court, that said every child of irrespective of immigration status has an opportunity to attend a free and public education K through 12. And if one were to deny a student of such education, it would be violative of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, specifically the Equal Protection Clause. We also, in our state, have protections for students to attend K through 12 education. So we not only have federal law, but we have state law to ensure that every single student and their families have equal access to an education at the K through 12 level.
Thank you for sharing that. And I do want to note that some of these questions came from our families, and we've been doing quite a bit of, know your rights sessions and different interactions with our families.
Sure.
So some of these did come from inquiries from our families. So if an immigration enforcement officer arrives at a school site requesting access to a student or student records, what are the legal protocols that all staff must follow?
Sure. We have a state law that was passed and became effective in 2018, that's SB 54 and AB 699, specifically addressing protocols that should be followed by particular districts like Santa Ana Unified School District. So that was a policy that was implemented, and it is 5145.13, board policy and administrative regulation. And the first order of business is to ensure that if there's immigration enforcement that takes place at a particular site on campus in the district, that individual immediately contacts the office of the superintendent or his designee, in this case you, Dr. Perez, as well as Ms. Barquin. The idea is that we want to ensure that the laws are followed, both federal and state, and that information is protected and students are protected unless and until an immigration enforcement official shows that he or she has a judicial warrant or some type of subpoena that is signed by a judge. But we don't want our colleagues who work at district sites to feel like they're working alone. They should immediately reach out and speak with the superintendent's office or with your colleague, Ms. Barquin, and then, if necessary, work with outside counsel, and we would help you determine whether or not there is a need to comply with the request of the immigration enforcement official.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I think that's really reassuring to our staff and to our families, knowing that there's a partnership and that folks really aren't having to do this on their own, and there are, protections and protocols there.
Yeah, and it's absolutely important to underscore that what we're asking the employees of the district to do is in compliance with both federal and state law and consistent with board policy.
What does the term, we hear it quite a bit, sanctuary campus or a safe haven, what does that mean in practical terms? And how does SAUSD's policy protect students from discrimination or intimidation based on their immigration status?
So we do hear the word sanctuary jurisdiction or sanctuary campus, not only in our communities, but in the media. And sanctuary does not have a single definition. It's used in different ways by different school districts, different community colleges, different cities and different municipalities, not only in the state of California, but across the United States. And so in response to your question, it has multiple meanings. And so you would have to look at the actual resolution or policy memoranda to determine what sanctuary means. As a general matter, it means and has been used to mean that the local, state, district, or entity is not going to work in concert with the federal immigration enforcement officials to enforce our nation's immigration laws unless it is required by federal and state law. So the idea is not to use resources at the local level, in this case, for example, the district, to, in fact, enforce our immigration laws, which is within the jurisdiction, squarely within the federal government's jurisdiction.
What are the legal risks and protections for school staff in particular who provide transportation, resources, or referrals to undocumented students and their families?
Well, the teacher, administrator, and staff who work our school sites are and should be focused on educating our students. And they are afforded protections to do just that under Apply v. Doe, as I mentioned, under Title VI, which ensures that individuals are not discriminated against based on race, color, national origin, and under our state laws, where they are focused on ensuring that every single student, irrespective of immigration status, are provided an opportunity to get an education in the state of California. So there should be no risk for a teacher, an administrator to educate the students within our community, because it's not only consistent with what the law states, not only the U.S. Supreme Court has provided in terms of an opinion, as I mentioned, Plata v. Doe, but also what our state laws provide. So there should not be any concern whatsoever in providing students with an education, and that is what we hope our particular members of our staff do.
That brings me to our final question, which you alluded to a little bit, but you may want to kind of emphasize something with this particular question. What legal protections do teachers have if they refuse to comply with an immigration enforcement request that goes against district policy or student privacy laws?
Well, let me underscore that Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5145.3 that deals with protocols dealing specifically if immigration enforcement takes place on campus is that the staff and those other colleagues who are working in engaging with an immigration enforcement official are not working alone. They are not working in isolation. They should immediately reach out to the superintendent's office or to you and others who are designated to respond and determine whether or not there's any reason to respond to the request that's being made by an immigration enforcement official. This is a process, a protocol that should be followed, and there should not be any concern if, in fact, the teacher or the principal works in accordance with board policy and administrative regulation, and that they're working, in fact, in accordance with their scope of work. That is not an issue of concern, and we do emphasize, however, that at no point should a district employee physically intervene or interfere with immigration enforcement official, even if there is a belief that the official is working beyond his or her authority. I also want to underscore that our anti-discrimination laws and policies always remain in effect. So irrespective of what is taking place in terms of immigration enforcement, we are focused on ensuring that there is a discrimination-free school place and workplace, and we have board policies and administrative regulations that deal with just that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you for being here with us today. And we look forward maybe to take another opportunity to take two to talk through some other questions that we might be receiving from our community.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
SAUSD. Step towards a brighter future. Imagine the unimaginable.